All right. Good morning, Doug. Big news. So much big news, but let's just say the government shutdown. What are your thoughts on that?
Hmm. Well, so far, I'm completely unaffected by it. Uh, and I've read what things are shut down and what things aren't. Like, well, everybody knows the post office uh, isn't shut down, but does anybody really use the post office anymore? I mean, I don't know. How is it affecting? It's not affecting you at all in Uruguay, where you are at the moment. I'm in the US right now.
Yeah, it has no effect on me at all. Soon I'll have to renew my passport. Maybe there might be an issue there, but it's a couple months from now before I have to do that. So, yeah, no, I don't think it affects me at all, but I think it does. It's being positioned as this gigantic gift to Trump because now he can make changes that he couldn't possibly have made through Congress and the government. I mean, by getting rid of departments and things like that. Normally, I've, celebrated even the idea of a government shutdown, thinking that's a good thing. But I'll tell you, I'm a little bit more nervous this time because not because he'd be getting rid of doing what Doge maybe should have done, because that would be good, but just because of a lot of the rhetoric lately about combating the enemy within, and
Yeah,
how
well,
does that change
that's
it?
right. And it's not like shutting the government down or most of it, wonderful thing. But you'd think it would save some money, but it doesn't because these people are just put on furlough. So they get to go home and do whatever they're doing at home. But then when the government reopens, they're caught up on the back pay in addition to whatever they're. So actually, it's like a free vacation for them. I mean,
It really is. It really is. But Trump, that's the way it's always been done. But apparently, he can eliminate programs altogether that have run out of funding and permanently fire people.
yes, I've heard that. And of course, this will be fought in the courts because these people don't want to lose their sinecure softy jobs. So, but this is part of the general trend of more power being directed towards the executive branch, which Trump loves. I mean, he wants more power to do good things that he's doing, except that power stays there even after Trump is gone. And he's doing so many unhinged things, unpredictable things, that I wonder if he's going to serve out his term, quite frankly. I mean, I don't really even believe what they say in the polls anymore.
You're wondering that, and he's wondering about his third term.
Well, I don't think he really is because he just likes to troll people. But
Oh, come on. He does. You don't think he actually legitimately would like to be king? I mean, in his dreams.
well, you know, in his dreams, here's what he's thinking, and there's some truth to what he's saying. He said this country has been going in the wrong direction for so long culturally. He's a cultural conservative. In fact, I'd say that's the only good thing that I can still see about Trump is he still wants the U.S. to return to the days of father knows best and leave it to beaver and relative stability, which it experienced up until the mid 60s. So he'd like to have that. And he's anti the wokesters, not on a philosophical basis, but because these people actually want to overturn what's always been historically what the US has been all about. So he wants to fight that. Okay, I'm all for that. Number one. That's on a macro level. I mean, that's as far as his philosophical thinking goes. He's against these people that want to overturn whatever we got here in the
Or
US. All
or
right.
or who went after him.
That's point number two. He's got a personal dog in this fight, and he knows that once he's out of office, these people they're going to try to tear him apart. So, of course, he's going to try to put everybody in jail that could do that, like starting with Comey, I guess. Whether that'll work or not, I don't know. So he's got both a personal and we got to be looking at chaos the next few years and beyond.
Well, I think no matter what, authoritarianism, like we haven't experienced in our lifetimes, I think is on the way.
Well, I think Trump would go further than that. He was saying like you've never seen before. What's that stock phrase that he used to eject all the time?
It's the biggest, most beautiful authoritarianism in the
Yeah, right.
world.
Most beautiful authoritarianism like you've never seen before.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, the way this shutdown is handled because I think the longest one ever was like 30 days. And of course, then I remember it not mattering whatsoever to me then, it was like it didn't really affect most Americans at all. But, Trump is on like, he's moving like with an agenda, it seems.
He
And
thinks he's on a mission from God in his own mind.
that's a little terrifying.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So
Hmm. Well, yeah. So let's get into some of the questions from members of the file. First one is, does Doug have any opinions or theories on any of the elite's plans to dilute national identity through immigration, leading towards one world government?
this is something that's hard to understand. Uh, these people what you might call self-hating white people, or for that matter, since oh goodness, I hate to step on the third rail, but what do I care? I don't really care. Most of them are Jews, frankly. And is it true that since do the Jews see themselves, these people, under this circumstance, as a separate group that are going to be insulated from importing millions of aliens from third world countries? If they screw up the US, I think they're going to be washed away in the deluge too. Anyway, uh, yeah, for some reason, these people hate what America stands for. Well, they don't say they do. They think we hate what America. Who the hell knows what's going on? All I see is chaos with things that are misunderstood, ill-defined, uh, chaotic, psychologically aberrated. This is this is we're moving from the way things used to be in the U.S. Like Truman, solid guy, a lot of mistakes, but a reasonable, thoughtful, solid guy. Uh, Eisenhower, solid, intelligent, well-intentioned guy. Same with Kennedy, well, to a lesser degree, but still, Nixon was very intelligent. And but now we're like we're like Rome once it got well into the third century, where these emperors are increasingly nutty and unhinged and unpredictable and brought up from nowhere. How do you get people like Kamala, who almost became the president, or that goofball Waltz
Or
that's
Obama?
or Obama? I mean, who came out of nowhere, quite frankly. And then Michelle, who some people accuse of being a tranny. I have no idea, frankly. I mean, all I know is what I
All I
hear.
know is it's a funny idea. That's
It's
all
a
I know for
funny
sure.
idea, but they never would have circulated ideas like that about Mamie Eisenhower, for instance. So it's a sign of the times that these accusations are being made. Well, like with Macron and his wife or husband, I don't know how they'd relate if it's true in France. So it's Western civilization is coming unglued, falling apart. The center cannot hold anymore. It's a pity. I thought
Yeah,
Western civilization was great for.
and it's clear that the immigration thing is part of a plan, a UN plan at least, because it requires massive financing and logistics to pull it off. That means by its nature, it's a plan.
Giving debit cards and cell phones and all the rest of it to these actually millions of people that invaded the US. And it's the same in Europe, actually, no different, just different.
I can't believe that there hasn't been any talk about Mayorkas at all in the new Trump administration. Like the key traitor to America, they got this Secretary of Homeland Security who basically changed the rules to make all the massive flows of immigration possible. that there's never been any talk about. He's never mentioned once.
No, no, all of these crazy people, the only one that they've gotten yet is Comey, or are getting now is Comey. And not being a legal scholar or understanding how these people's minds work, I have no idea whether Comey will be damaged really by this or whether he'll get so much name recognition that he'll get a giant book contract and become even wealthier.
Yeah, it's quite possible in today's perverse world that that's what would happen.
But one thing I have heard in the media recently is a lot of people are saying all of these people that Trump has got around him, and I can't name all these people that run these agencies. And of course, they put their finger on Bobby Kennedy, but Noam and others, they call them all incompetent and goofy and on and on. And like this is anything new. Who do they think Biden had around them, for God's sake? Like Mayorkas and almost all of them around Biden. They've forgotten this. This is like drive on. These new
That's
people
true.
are really,
That's true. That's true. But if you watch one of the cabinet meetings, uh, the the sycophants come out in this way that's really shocking. It's like, oh, God bless you, Mr. President. Thank you. We were able, like, they go around the room and they all do that same thing. It's like North Korea or something. It's amazing.
it is shocking. They don't dare to contradict or object in any way. They just do what they're told.
And compliment.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they have to,
effusively. That's right.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
like any of this. I mean, I've gone from being a Trump supporter because he's seems so much better than Kamala. But at this point, I can see that he's becoming unhinged and becoming dangerous.
Becoming dangerous. And some people would say that's good because he's being dangerous toward like Antifa. And we'll get into a question about that in a little bit. But I think there's a line there. So next question is Doug mentioned in his last episode the possibility of Brazil splintering. He may be aware of a southern secession movement in Brazil that appears to be a group that is culturally more European than most of the country, which is true of southern Brazil.
Yep, true.
Uh, what would it look like with that splinter country and some sort of union, maybe with Chile, Argentina, and Uruguay? Might we have a European type new world that could become a new cultural and economic powerhouse?
That seems like a long shot to me. Well, to start with, because the Brazilians speak Portuguese and the other countries speak Spanish, and the Chileans and the Argentines have some kind of a bizarre cultural rivalry where they've never really gotten along, in addition to the fact that southern Chile is actually Indian country that could break off from the rest of Chile. Uh, I don't know. I don't see it. The only
Yeah,
thing
I
I
don't.
see is that I think there have got to be many, many well-to-do Europeans and right-thinking Europeans want to get the hell out of Europe, which is clearly a sinking ship and getting worse at this point. And
Yeah, I
we're
don't know what they're
just
waiting
watching.
for.
Hmm?
I don't know what they're waiting for, Doug. What sign do they need to see before they get out?
I thought this would be happening 5 years ago, but apparently it's not. So, well, look, they have families there. They have houses there. They don't want to sell it. They got friends there. Their jobs are there. The governments make it hard. I mean, the US government makes it very hard to get out of their net, but the Europeans are doing the same thing now. So, for not many people, look, our plan B
Event we have coming
conference.
up, yeah.
I mean, how many
We
people?
have I think we'll have 85 people there.
Okay, well, that's good. But 85 people out of a country of 330 million isn't a whole lot.
Oh, and there are a bunch of them that actually are European that'll be in there too,
Mm,
just like last time. Yeah.
yeah. So out of a group of 700 million, 85 is not a whole lot of people.
No, it's not many people. Not in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, I don't know. It's a strange thing. I I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they're waiting for. It gets harder and harder for them to leave every day. So,
Yeah, I guess they're waiting for it to be too late.
yeah, I think that's right. I think you nailed it.
I mean, hey, better be sure before you make the move,
Yeah,
right?
I'd be like, you know what? I was right. It would have been a good idea to move.
Yeah, yeah, note to self.
Okay, next question. Data centers around the world are growing at fast pace. There's talk of possible needing new nuclear power plants to power them. Do you think this is a real possibility?
Tell you what I think. I think this whole data center thing has turned into uh, a bubble not among the retail public, but among these giant corporations, which feel like that if they don't build data centers and do this, they're somehow going to have the march stolen on them by their competitors and miss out. I think they're making a giant mistake. This is like what happened in the
99.
yeah, exactly. They all felt that they had to lay down all the cable and do everything that you needed for computers. And it turned out, yeah, it was needed, but huge amounts of capital were misallocated. Giant corporations like what was the big one? Global Crossing and several others went bankrupt because they just,
Broadcom.
yeah, that's right. They tried to do too much too soon. And this data, what is the data going to be used for exactly, do you think?
I think everything. Basically, you get your digital ID, which will then track all of your conduct, where you are, all the data associated with you physically, from your smartwatch to your phone's telemetry information, all the emails that go to you, and your what websites you visit online, exactly where your money goes. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot.
Well, wait a minute. This doesn't do me or you any good at all that I can determine. What good does it do us?
Uh, yeah, I don't think that's part of the plan. I don't think anything on the agenda right now is actually designed to help any of us on
I think,
anyone's agenda.
isn't it true that all these things have kind of taken on a life of their own? Because the guys that run these big corporations, Google and Meta and the rest of it, I mean, maybe they don't like it either. Maybe they don't like they're a little bit scared about the idea of spending hundreds of billions of dollars, but they feel like they have to do it. This is how things take on a life of their own. Like you can't change the direction of the US in general at this point. Forget about just this. It's that you feel driven to do these things.
Well, I mean,
It's
there was that shakedown at dinner he had with all the tech executives, and he's like, "And how much are you putting in? 600 billion. And what about you?" It's like,
yeah,
yeah.
it's funny because Trump doesn't understand any of this stuff. He just likes to see people investing in America.
Or at
But
least he likes to hear about big numbers and big ideas about what's being invested in America. I mean, it's hard to even deploy that kind of capital. I mean, where are the electricians?
yeah, and talking about deploy, it really is rather amazing. 800 generals and their top NCOs that they dragged along with them, sitting there listening to Trump and Hegseth lambaste them and ramble on stuff. What what do you make of this?
Yeah, if I thought it was uh not good for Trump. Like I would imagine that he left there more concerned than he was when he arrived, because these generals universally adopted a very stoic attitude. They didn't applaud, laugh, go along with, try and pretend that they were anything other than irritated that they were there and had to listen to it. And, imagine standing in front of 800 generals of the most powerful military force in the world, and you're the commander in chief, and they're basically like,
Yeah, Yeah, and worse than that, being actually insulted, like that one line that he said, and if I don't like you, you're gone out the door now, and forget
Yeah,
about your pension and wwhatever else. It was actually quite quite bold and amazing on Trump's part.
yeah. And then his speech was like sort of rambling, and it wasn't his best performance, put it that way.
No, and a little bit risky because these guys they're powerful. They're used to being treated like princes, and one girl talks to another, uh, and of course, none of them want to do anything that might be actually illegal. But I'm sure that a couple guys or a few say, "What are we going to do if he actually does go bonkers? We'd have to
Well,
replace him."
y you have to imagine what when he says American cities are going to be the training ground for the military, that a few of them start to wonder, what that means exactly, and and what you can imagine the law, the unlawful orders that they could be given in that scenario.
And some of them would do what they're told, and some of them would not. But nobody resigned after this
There was
very
one
odd
today. One,
conclave.
t- one today did the general of SOCOM,
SOCOM, South American, is it the
Southern Command, which basically is, I believe that it's the guy in charge of the special forces guys.
oh, is that what it is? All these acronyms, I try to keep track of them, but there's so many of them.
Yeah, I could see if I can find it again, but I did see one resignation letter earlier today.
Well, good for him, whoever he is.
So he didn't mention anything in the resignation letter about his motivation,
Entirely
but
apart from that, 800 generals seems to me to be way too much, including, I think the number is 44 four-star generals. And even during World War II, with 12 million men under arms, even during World War II, we only had, I think, 6 or 8 4 stars, but nothing like the 44 that we have today.
hmm.
About a quarter as many when there were 12 million men under arms. So, like anything else, the longer an organization continues along, the bigger and more top-heavy and more bloated it becomes. And I think that's true of, yes, I know the US military is lethal and deadly and all this type of thing. And we've all heard what, you know, Hegseth wants them all to get down on the floor and do push-ups, on and on and on. But the military is pretty soft and bloated, especially in the upper ranks. Like,
Yeah, that part's true. But the thing is that you could have what they should have done is just as a management thing. You basically take those problem people, you put them in a room, and you basically you place real demands on them. But you do not subject the ones that do not qualify to that. All you've done is bring everyone together with the losers.
yeah,
Now you have a united front against you. It's a huge mistake, management mistake.
yeah, these guys do not like to be lectured to like little kids. So,
No, they literally like their wish is everyone's command, is the life they live. I mean, it's like, I mean, I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying it's just very out of the ordinary for them to be in this position.
it's kind of odd in other ways because the only part of the US government that I think the average American still kind of respects is the military. So, how's the military being changed at this point? Well,
You know, I just now saw for the first time how we get a left-wing dictator, former general, as you've been saying for years.
yeah. Yeah, I think if the Democrats are smart for the in 2028, I'm assuming we'll still have an election then, the Democrats will pick a left-wing general. Makes all the sense in the world because they can't run any of these current idiots that want to be president. That would after Kamala and Waltz and Biden, I mean, it would just be way too embarrassing. They'll pick a presentable left-wing general, I think.
Yeah, or maybe we get a Pinochet out of this.
Well,
I mean, not a Pinochet-like scenario. I don't mean a Pinochet character. If Trump starts issuing what all those guys who basically put on a very unified front, if they feel like they were given unlawful orders from him, and they pick one of them to lead the cause. I mean, you could like I never saw that as a possibility until that meeting, the way that way was handled.
the U.S., since it has transformed itself into a genuine empire, is acting like a genuine empire. And that's to say, a degraded, falling apart empire like Rome in the third century and on. That's the way things are going. Financially bankrupt. I mean, the only good thing that's holding everything up now is the stock market, which is making people feel wonderful and rich. Hey, I got nothing to worry about.
Ten
You
percent
know?
of us, Doug. Just 10% of us, though.
Mm. Meanwhile, most of the people are living paycheck to paycheck. And when the economy turns down, and I understand that I understand because I don't trust any of these numbers, but the civilian workforce dropped by 35,000 or something like that last
Yeah,
month.
that's what ADP reported, which is a lot more accurate than any government number.
And maybe in a country of 330 million, 35,000 isn't a lot, but straw in the
It's the
wind.
start.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is I heard you briefly mention some of this new data center capacity might be for robotics. How do you see this working? Having dumb robots send off to the cloud for computation and processing? I'm
Mhm.
the one who talked about this before, and that's exactly how it works actually, is they do training in simulation in the virtual world, essentially using the cloud processing so that they can essentially do based upon all the sensors they have and what they recognize of their situation, they can connect to the cloud and do 10,000 simulations of that actual thing they're about to try for the first time.
It makes sense to me. And I'm of the opinion that robots actually might become genuinely independent and sentient. And now we get into philosophical questions like, well, can they? Do they have a spiritual existence? And then some people will say, well, wait a minute. Humans may or may not have a spiritual existence. And of course, this is very,
I would argue some humans may and some humans may not.
mm,
That'd be my
well,
argument there.
I, it's very interesting because I've long felt that humans were speciating on psychological and mental grounds. Uh, that's what happens with species. They split and develop in different ways. Now, this is terra incognita we're going into, but it's pretty clear that the immense physical abilities that robots now have, we've all seen the videos, and I happen to believe them, combined with artificial intelligence, combined with vastly increased computer knowledge and skills, the world of the Terminator is here.
Yep, I agree. It's coming. It's coming soon. It's just a matter of getting scaled up production,
Yeah.
which take a while in the U.S., but is happening in China already. So
Well, they don't have to deal with these unions, which are there just to feather their own nests, and they don't care about anything beyond what happens to them as a small group. So the
true.
Chinese,
They also have all the supply chains.
yeah, so the Chinese are definitely going to conquer when it comes to robots, and the Japanese too,
Hmm.
which we haven't heard too much about. But perhaps the Japanese are thinking in terms of robots to take care of their old people so they don't have to import millions of Muslims and Nigerians and other people that just don't fit in
It's a
Japan.
better idea.
It is
I'd
actually.
take the robots for sure.
I I I would, and until they get really uppity and decide to revolt. I mean, if they actually achieve consciousness and start thinking, is it possible? I'm speaking, yeah, I think it's possible. Sure.
It's possible. I just think I don't think you'd be able to, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's possible, but I think to most people, they would observe them and they would think them as if they were conscious.
Well,
Because we see humans walking around all the time that, we have the label NPC for a reason.
yes.
I mean, the robots will pass for that. No problem. I mean, at least as well as these humans that we see in label NPCs.
Well, the humans, the robots are vastly more knowledgeable, have vastly more information to deal with. Their circuits make them much more logical. Uh, and anyway, I believe that a difference that makes no difference is no difference. So this is the Turing test. If you can't tell the difference, what is the difference between a thinking machine and a rather
A human.
non-thinking piece
Human.
of, yeah, exactly. No, I think it's quite possible.
Yeah. Okay, what's Doug's view on the reported green light given to Ukraine to use long-range missiles to strike deep inside Russia?
Well, one of the most amazing things going on in the world today, I think, is the way the war drums are beating in Western Europe. I mean, maybe Trump started this, telling these people that they have to spend 5% of their GDPs building weapons, uh, and they're doing it. I mean, they're actually rearming massively in in Europe at this point. Well, what are they going to do with those weapons? Fight each other? Well, that's not good. It looks like they're just going to fight Russia, and things are building up that way. Yeah, World War III, I think it started some time ago, but yeah, I think it's going to get hot.
Yeah.
We're dealing with criminal personalities that run most of these European, well, most of these governments in the world, but certainly those in Western Europe, Keir Starmer and that German guy Merz and
In
who's
Estonia, I
who's
mean,
runs France. Yeah.
Estonia though, Estonia wants to pick a fight with Russia so bad.
What's the matter with them? I mean, who do they think is going to win? I mean, they're asking for their country to be devastated.
It's really insane. It's really insane.
And what
Uh,
was
and
the
what-
matter? What's the matter with the Swedes having been neutral and doing so now they have to join NATO so that they can get involved in a dust up? What is the matter with these people? It's actually criminally insane.
yeah, related, different topic, but related to people who were otherwise very sane. I don't know if you saw that the Swiss voted themselves in a digital ID.
I wouldn't have believed it, but it's something that I've said for many years. It's that the kind of people that are drawn to government are inevitably always the kind of people that like to control other people. So, if you're in government, you want the power to do things right, in your opinion, and you need IDs so you know what's going on. And the Swiss aren't immune from this. We're just
But
far down the road.
it does. They kill the worst ideas though because they have to vote on it. You know,
Yeah, it's actually as close as you can come to a plebiscitary democracy. So it's not left up to the people in their parliament or whatever. It's anything important is subject to a plebiscite among the people.
I mean, to me, it's as dumb as when the Uruguayans voted in the same manner for a income tax.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. It really reinforces my gloomy view of the human race. Yes, we all We all know the good and the heroic aspects of being human, but the blatant stupidity of it seems to overwhelm them sometimes. Anyway, don't
Yeah.
worry. Bill Gates and friends are going to solve all this by
Yeah. Yeah.
reducing the
Larry
population
Ellison,
by 90% or
Palantir.
so.
Yeah. Palantir and Larry Ellison. And I'm sure they'll be fine. I'm sure
Yeah,
they'll,
no
they,
problems. Don't
uh,
don't worry. Move along. Nothing to see here.
what's your view on the order to clamp down on protests and domestic terrorism from Trump?
Scary, because right now they're
Now you think these Antifa criminal thugs are obviously a cancer,
for
right?
sure, for
Okay,
sure,
but it's also scary. Explain that.
simply because Trump, who may be in office for another 3 years, this is indeterminate as far as I'm concerned. Uh, he'll be replaced by somebody else, very possibly a Democrat, and then the shoe will be on the other foot, and it'll be right-wing so-called terrorists will be clamped down on. And anyway, what do right-wing and left-wing terrorists have in common with each other? They're all anti the government, the state. And wait a minute, I'm not a right-winger or a left-winger, and I'm not a terrorist, but I'm anti the state. So I expect that libertarians are going to be painted with the same brush.
Yes, exactly. And Kash Patel the other day was coming out talking about how on social media we really needed to crack down more on speech.
Oh,
So this is coming up again and again. And it's like, do you not see where this is going? I mean, I don't understand it.
and it's funny. Cash with his buddy Dan Bongino were sold to us as being right-thinking outsiders that want to clean house in the
Justice.
FBI, and it doesn't seem to be happening really.
It's the opposite seems to be happening. In fact, I think Epstein apparently is a left-wing conspiracy, and there just was this lone gunman shooter in, Charlie Kirk, and nothing to see here.
Which makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, guess we've discussed this before that if it was done by this kid with a 30-06, which they say, who the hell knows, it basically would have blown Charlie's neck out, not just left a tiny entrance room with wound with no evidence of an exit wound. I mean, none of this makes any sense. But where's the information? Where's something
Where
definitive?
where's the video clip they have of him running across the building? Where's the 30 seconds before that show him getting up from the prone position with the rifle and running? You
Yeah.
know, they don't even show us that. Like it's obviously a cover up. I mean, it's so clear. I don't know what happened, but I know what they're saying is a lie.
What's going to happen when they try this kid, who, at least we're told, is a bit of a Looney Tunes tranny? Uh, are they going to be able to convict him? I mean,
Will
based
he
upon the
make it to
evidence.
trial?
Hmm?
Will he make it to trial?
Well, he shouldn't make it to trial, really. I mean, to make things simple and easy, yeah, he's got to
He's
slip on soap or something like that in prison.
yeah. I think he's got to go the way of Epstein,
Yeah,
allegedly.
yeah, of course.
Um, and what do you think of the alleged peace deal in Gaza?
I don't see how it can work. And actually, it's interesting. The largest U.S. military base in the Middle East, bigger than the naval base in Bahrain, or
In the world, I think, Doug.
is it in the world? That's well, why should it be in the U.S.? It would be in an obscure country with big natural gas reserves that nobody even heard of before. Although they do have, I'd say, one of the two best airlines in the world. Qatar is about as
Yeah.
good as Emirates. So there is something good to be said about Qatar. But but Trump has apparently guaranteed them that nothing is going to happen to them, that he will defend Qatar. So that's another tar baby. If something happens that we have to defend, well, and God forbid Israel should do something unfortunate with Qatar, because then Trump would have to say, well, we'll defend you against anybody but our 51st state, Israel.
Right. And I think, when you look at a couple things coming together, you got the Saudi Pakistan deal,
Yeah.
where they said they'll defend basically a similar type deal that Qatar now has with the US.
And I
Uh,
thought I thought the US was supposed to defend Saudi Arabia against any foreign enemies.
I think that maybe the fact that we stood down while Israel bombed a hotel in a residential area in Qatar probably made them think differently about it.
Makes them think that maybe the US isn't such a reliable partner after all. Better to have a fellow Mohammedan. Oh, ah,
So they are worried, of course, about being their oil fields being attacked by Iran. I mean, they're like, the other side of the pole to Iran in the area, really, not, more so than Israel being the other side of the pole. It's really Saudi Arabia. Like those are the two kind of opposing, competing factions in Islam, right?
yeah.
So so they get Pakistan to sign on to help them, and then Qatar gets the U.S. signed on to defend them, and we're flying all of these fighter jets over there over the last several days. We have another aircraft carrier moving that direction. I just wonder if Qatar said, "Hey, okay, if you're going to launch your attack on Iran from our territory, you must defend us." Because of course one would think that they would be targeted. I mean, the closing of the Strait of Hormuz would hurt Qatar more than it was going to hurt Iran.
What a dog's breakfast. I mean, I
Yeah,
mean, you can't keep track of all the moving pieces that are constantly in a kaleidoscope with each other. And we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes in closed doors with who wants to kill who or steal what from the other person. So,
yeah. The only thing we know is that Israel's really does not like Iran. We know that, right? And we know based upon all the flight radar stuff that you can't see the fighter jets, but you could see the tankers there to air refuel, and you can see that air bridge of them moving them over there to Qatar. So that's all
yeah.
we know.
And of course, there were speculations that were made that, well, maybe Trump drew in these 800 generals to disguise the fact that he just wanted the ones that are in control of that part of the world. Because if he brought in just those people, it would be way too obvious. So he's kind of covering it by draw. eh, This is all speculation. It's all conjecture.
It is. And I mean, and even earlier, we're commenting on the meeting with the generals. We're only talking about what was televised. That's
Yeah.
what we saw. We don't know. We have no idea what happened beyond that, but I'm sure there was more.
Well, I'm sure there were lots of interesting conversations between the generals who mostly all know each other and don't have a chance to get together and talk to each other person to person the way they did here.
Right. I mean, that seems like they were talking about it being a security risk to have all those generals in the one place because, for a foreign enemy. I think that's more dangerous for Trump. I don't think he realizes that.
Yeah, probably not. And I suspect, but I don't know, these guys, none of these guys like Hegseth because he's a young upstart who was a junior officer in the National Guard. They don't like taking orders from somebody like that.
No, especially who basically is up there insulting them, you know, insulting the all of them, not just the ones who they might agree should be insulted, you know? It's just not smart. It's bad management. I'm telling you, bad management.
Yeah, it is. Well,
Okay, so how does Doug rate rural Costa Rica as a place to sit out the upcoming shitstorm?
I spent a lot of time in Costa Rica in the 70s, actually. I actually lived there for a while. Um, but I haven't been back to Costa Rica for 20 years. Uh, Costa Rica is different from any other country in Central America, no question about it. It's the only country in Central America that's not plagued by frito banditos, as it were. It's by far the most European of the Central American countries. Uh, it was fortunate in that it never had gold or anything to draw the conquistadors and corrupt them. So, it's a pretty mellow place. It used to be famous for even the police not having sidearms. Uh,
Hmm.
they famously had screwdrivers. So when somebody was committing an offense, they'd take their plates off their car, stuff like that. I mean, hardly the way it's done here in the U.S. So Costa Rica is a different place. Than Do I like it? Well, it's pretty overrun with Americans and Canadians at this point, but I haven't been there for 20 years. But I'm favorably inclined towards Costa Rica, and I lived there for, I don't know, for a couple of months. Uh, Most mellow and enjoyable. So it's not
Yeah.
very much on anybody's radar anymore. It was big 40 or 50 years ago, but it's not anymore. So
And
worth
even
investigating. Good question.
I will say that from what I understand, reading what other people have said about it, I haven't been there in 7 years or so, but the real estate prices there have gone up a lot
A
in
lot.
the
I think a
desired
lot. Yeah.
areas, like a lot. So it's definitely not a value oriented place anymore.
No, it's not.
But there are lots of expats there, and the locals, really rely on the tourist business quite a bit. So you got to kind of economically, they're pretty dependent on the tourist dollar. And so, if there's an economic problem or another stupid shutdown or something like that, then that would put the country at economic risk, I think. But
And it's not a country that has troublesome rebels like Nicaragua or Guatemala or Mexico or the kind of problems that El Salvador had. It's worth looking into.
yeah, okay. Last question for you. I'm curious to know if Doug takes his dogs back and forth to Buenos Aires and Virginia. Let's see. When he's not in Uruguay, I want to get another dog, but I don't know what hassle it might bring to take one back and forth.
Well, it's a hassle. And yes, I have transported a number of dogs, a number of places. And best way to do it is to
The way we brought Atlas.
buy private jet. That's right. This is a well-treated dog. But my dogs stay at the farm in Uruguay because they like having a huge backyard to run around and
It's heaven for the dogs.
it's
I mean,
heaven
it
for them.
doesn't
And
get,
yeah, and I've got people that take care of the place, and when I'm not there, they feed them and treat them like members of the family. But I know everybody's not in that position to. So, answer to the question, yeah, you could put your dog in a crate and ship it from the U.S. to wherever.
seems pretty stressful on them, though, I have to say.
Yeah, it is stressful because they have to, they're shipped like cargo and they got to go to the bathroom, and so it's not easy.
Yeah,
But it's best that if you're going to get a crib someplace else, that it's a kind of a one-way trip for the dog. That's what I.
that's the way I always thought it was with Atlas. I'm like, enjoy flying for the first and last time.
Hey, listen, I hate flying. I think the dogs must really hate it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, that's all I've got for you today, Doug. Let me make sure on my list. Oh, one other thing. Interesting statistic is that they did this poll last in March of 2024. It was repeated again after the Charlie Kirk assassination. And the question was, do you agree that political violence might be necessary? It went from 20% last year to 30% this year.
Hmm. Now, this is funny. There's a joke I used to tell. I'm afraid to tell it anymore. Uh, Before I gave a speech, where I'd say, people sometimes ask me, Mr. Casey, how is it that you've never had a regular job, really, in your whole life? I always answered, well, you know how on those employment application forms they ask, do you advocate the overthrow of the US government by force or violence? Well, I always checked violence. Must have been the wrong answer. Uh, so I don't tell that joke anymore because it's not much of a joke anymore.
No.
Uh, but I think the natives are getting restless everywhere. People can see that things are fraying around the edges, and all that has to happen is a catalyst. And I think a catalyst will be a meltdown in the stock market, or they prop it up with trillions more dollars, and then things will start coming apart as unemployment goes up. So,
Or,
yeah,
or I
yeah,
think
I can see why they're thinking violence at this point. I can see
you could
why.
have all these protests around these ICE facilities, and
Yeah,
most of those people are total, I mean, I have zero sympathy for any of those people that are protesting those facilities or shooting at them like some of them are. But imagine somehow there's an over response from DHS that kills some very sympathetic, innocent figure there. And then you have, I mean, George Floyd caused the Summer of Love. You can
yeah,
imagine what, an overreaction from the state to some of that could cause.
right. To somebody who's actually not a pathological scumbag, which who George was. Yeah, it
Yeah.
could happen very
So,
easily.
somebody being pushed across the street in a stroller, a little
Yeah,
baby,
yeah,
something like that. I mean, so anyway, yeah, people have to be very careful, and tensions are rising, and the social fabric is fraying. And as soon as I think you're right, once the economy turns over, everyone recognizes it happened. I think we're in for chaos.
yeah. I think we are because never before. I mean, sure, you could have disagreements with people about politics and all right, but there's a disagreement. But now I really believe the red people and the blue people actually hate each other and they don't want to associate with each other. And this is not moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's like Trump's comment at the Charlie Kirk funeral really bothered me when he said when you take something, a tragedy, and just like it's like George Floyd situation. I mean, not that Charlie was George Floyd. I'm not saying that at all, but like some single event, and you turn it into something bigger. And he says those bullets weren't just coming for Charlie; they were coming for America. They're coming for us. Like when you start turning I'm like, who was sending the bullets are you talking about again?
Yeah.
Like, and who's us? And what are you saying? Like that kind of rhetoric is, and it's not just the rhetoric. Rhetoric is one thing, but then also then this series of actions, focusing on the enemy within is concerning to me. Very concerning.
Yeah. It's kind of looking like inversion of the golden rule. Instead of the golden rule is now do unto others, but do it first.
Exactly. Let's call it the Trump rule.
Right.
All right. All
That's
right.
just so
Thanks, Doug. Well,
sad.
you have a great weekend. Enjoy. I think it's your last weekend in Virginia, so enjoy it.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to leave the land of oysters and crab cakes and move back down to Argentina and then Uruguay, where I guess I'll
We
see.
have our event, and then we're going to Azerbaijan.
Yeah, I hope we don't go there in the midst of a genuine heating up of World War III. That is Central Asia, after all.
Well, this is a key risk of travel in 2025, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I like travel more in the good old days. It was a lot safer and more pleasant where you weren't inspected like a beef cow before they even let you on the plane. And when your papers, I mean, this is amazing to me when I think that I could travel internationally not long ago using my World Service Authority document, a homemade passport. No problem most of the time. Forget about it now. Yeah, the world's changing.
Nope. Yep. All right, Doug. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Pat.